Hello, I'm Sally Ann Weston Scales, and tonight I'm delighted to introduce Julian Russell, who will lead the workshop entitled Empower Yourself and Empower the World. Julian is a well-known executive coach working globally, a psychotherapist, founder of the Life Talent Program, which is a personal evolution program designed to help people blossom. Welcome, Julian.
Great to have you here for this Generative Citizen event to build the Generative Citizen Community. And I'm really excited about tonight because we're going to do Dilts Logical Levels. It's been around, I don't know, since the 80s, something like that. But it's such a powerful tool. But we're going to do it in two different ways during the course of our time together. So we've got 2 hours together. The first part, we're going to do logical level alignment for ourselves as individuals. But then we're going to think about, what is it that we're doing for the world? And we're going to do a logical level alignment around that and then share that in the group for the community. Because for me, a generative citizen is somebody who, we've got the 5 practices, but, they're in coach state. They're those states of well-being and performance and flow are really important to them. They're involved, a generative citizen, has some self-awareness and is involved in their own self-development. They're practicing being a good communicator in the world, which is a difficult thing when things are tough. And that we're also aware of social issues, of our place in the world. And empathy. I've forgotten the practice of empathy, so that not only are we aligned in ourselves, but we're empathic towards the people around us. And from that place we communicate, and from that place we think about the world, and from that place we relate to world events. And so that's such an important and sort of touching thing for me. It's such a great model that Judith came up with. And that sense of each of us in our own way is already making a difference to the world. And so in a sense, for me, that's what Generative Citizen is about, is to support each of us making a difference to the world in the way that we make a difference to the world, through being aligned in ourselves, through being the change we want in the world, through being examples of, or not being examples of what we talk about, but trying to be examples of what we talk about. I get up in the morning and I say, today I'll be a good person, or today I'll try and live my life calling, or today I'll do the best I can. And then I forgive myself when I fall flat on my face. I was once driving someone in a car somewhere, and I was talking about the highest aspects of Buddhism, sort of non-dual, and then someone cut me up, and I just swore at the other driver. And it was so, we just cracked up laughing because it was such a perfect moment when I was sort of spouting, but I wasn't able to maintain, to live that view in that moment. And that's the nature of being human. So I think there's a sort of a real humility to being a generative citizen, which is that we want to, we're doing these practices, we're learning self-discipline, we're improving ourselves, becoming more self-aware, becoming more empathic to ourselves and to the world. And yet we're also aware of, of the issues of the world, including social injustice, social and environmental injustice, actually. And, where we can, we do something about it. But it really comes from a place of compassion and empathy. And so today I'm really excited about giving something to each of you, which will support you being, being a great person in the world. And then seeing how there's some overlap between what we do, the way that we give our gifts to the world, that there's some overlap in that, in what we can call the generative change community, or the generative citizen community. And of course, if you haven't seen the videos, or if you weren't at the talk, Steve Gilligan did a wonderful talk for us about the evolution of human consciousness and how this shifting consciousness from really sort of I-centric to more global-centric, to more world-centric, including nature, is the key initiation, the key thing that we have to do at this time in human history. And then Robert Dilts did a wonderful talk for us, which again you can see on the YouTube channel, about how to have a vision, how to create a vision. And he just used such a wonderful model by taking Martin Luther King's speech, "I have a vision," and using that as a model of how to create your own vision in life. And so what I'm trying to do today is just to help us really be empowered in our individual vision and just see what overlaps there are between us in the community. The next talk is Connie Ray Andres is going to do a talk, and I can't remember the date, but I think it's the 21st of October, I think, on from individual self to sort of non-dual self to a unified self, which I think is super exciting. We're actually in an age. Go on, Judith.
19th.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thursday, 19th.
Great. Keep your microphone open, actually, for
Okay.
a second. I think one of the most exciting things about this age is that there are some awarenesses that were only available to mystics that are now available to all of us. And she will talk about that. Steve talked about that. And Connie Ray will not talk about it, but will lead us through a process around that. And then we come to Judith is going to be teaching 3 practices of generative citizen, which, level 2 practices. And that starts on, what's the date, Judith?
25th.
25th. And so I'll show a slide at the end and just talk about a little bit about that at the end. But that's super exciting because, of course, each of the 5, we when we're talking, when Judith and I and other people in Generative Citizen are talking about this, each of the 5 practices could be a 20-day training, or a 40-day training or a 60-day training. It's sort of, there is no end to the possibility with each of those practices. And of course, I'm reminded of, I can't think what his name is now, but Glassman, the Zen peacemaker, who takes people to Auschwitz to practice empathy. There's no length that we can go to with any of these practices. So I will share a bit more about Judith's talks at the end of the session today. So it's great to have you here, and great to have you here also, Li Hui, and your friend as well. So it's good. So I don't really want to talk very much about Dilts Logical Levels because I'm an experiential person. I like to have people to have experiences. That's my key interest, is to give people experiences, and then you can go back and read about the model afterwards. But just in outline, there are environments in which we work, live, and play. And in those environments, we do things in those environments. And we have skills that enable us to do things in those environments. And there are beliefs and values that support us and empower us, when we're at our best, and also when we're at our worst, but we're focusing on when we're at our best here, that empower us using those skills, doing those things in those environments. And then step back from that, there's sort of the complex of my beliefs and values, my sense of identity, which is based on, who I am in terms of my personal history, who I am in the present in my life, and who I am becoming in the future. And more than that, the sense of identity is a sort of web of all of those things. And that, of course, affects all of this. And so does your innate sense of what life is about, of existence, whether it's from looking at the night sky and feeling awe at the scale of the universe, or thinking about the Big Bang, or whether it's through some spiritual tradition, or whether it's being in the forest and feeling, one with life, or looking in a baby's eyes and realize that there's something looking back at you that's quite extraordinary. There are so many ways into that sense of awe at existence. And so those are the Dilts logical levels: environment, behavior, skills, people sometimes say competencies or capabilities, beliefs and values, identity, and spiritual. I just don't like the word spiritual. And I've been using the phrase ever-present origin. There is something that came out of non-existence into, we all have to agree there was something that came out of non-existence into existence. And whatever that is, it's in everything. It's immanent in everything and in every cell of our body. And we're very intimate with it. We're so intimate with it that we don't even recognize it. You know, it's like one fish is swimming along and one fish says to the other, tell me, what is this thing called water? It's like that for us. It's so deeply embedded in our nature that we can't even see it. But it's our fundamental existence. It's almost our sort of fundamental self. So, and we all have different ways of approaching that, but it's inherent in our nature. Let's put it that way. And that's why I like the phrase ever-present origin, because I think we can all agree that something is here. You know, one of the philosophers, I can't remember who, says, you know, the most important question in philosophy is, why is there anything? Which I think is a great question. So that's all I'm going to say about logical levels, but I'm going to take us into a meditation on logical levels for ourselves as individuals. First, you know, I'm assuming that everybody here, as far as I can tell, knows why guided meditation or psychological meditation is a useful and helpful activity. Is there anybody who has a question about that? I mean, in summary, you know, the body-mind is a lot more than just the intellectual cognitive mind. And if we engage the whole body-mind, we're going to be more resourced than if we just engage the intellectual cognitive mind. Okay, so we'll start the meditation. And just before I do that, so the basic structure is we'll do a meditation, then we'll do a little bit of short sharing in a breakout group, then we'll have a little bit of sharing in the large group, then we'll do the second meditation on you know, what it is that you give to the world, your gift to the world, and then we'll do that in breakout rooms, probably if we have time, but we'll definitely share that back to the large group. So I always start to engage my whole being by paying attention to my senses, you know, being present in the present moment, taking a deep breath, noticing what I see, what I hear, what I feel. And it can be really helpful to just notice how busy your internal dialogue is. Is it a lot of chatter? Or is it quiet? Just to be aware that, and we're not trying to change anything. We're just paying attention to what is. So that in itself, if we can let ourselves do that, that can be deeply relaxing for us. And as many of you know, I just use a simple format for engaging body-mind generative field, which is to pay attention to 4 things we hear. But always when I start, I invite you to pay attention to more than 4 things. So that's just an anomaly in what I do. So I like to see if I can hear anything outside the building. Street sounds. And hearing nothing, of course, is also a sort of hearing. And then I pay attention to any house sounds. Are there other people? Or pipes? Old houses move and make noises. Then I listen for sounds in the room, which would, of course, include my voice and any computer sound you have. And then I listen for sounds in my body. I can hear my breathing. I can't quite hear my heart, but I can hear the pulse of blood in a vein or an artery in my neck. And then I listen to my internal voice, or whatever channel my internal radio is on. Sometimes there are different channels. But I listen to that voice from a distance, as if it was someone talking to me at a party or a networking meeting. I'm curious, I'm interested. I want to know more, but I don't necessarily believe what it's saying. And then we can pay attention to 4 things we feel, including a muscle, a place on your skin, which may feel air temperature or the contact of clothing, and some feeling in the trunk of your body, perhaps an emotional feeling, some felt sense in the trunk of your body. And one more. And then if you're to see 4 things, if your eyes are closed, you'll see the darkness of your eyelids. There's probably light or color on your eyelids as well. And you can see 2 other things in your mind's eye. Or most people can see 2 other things in their mind's eye. And then we can pay attention to 3 things we hear. And 3 things we feel, including skin, muscle, and viscera, the trunk of our body, felt sense. And noticing how what we're aware of changes all the time. We can again pay attention to three things we see. And 2 things that you hear. And 2 things that you feel. And 2 things that you see. and one thing that you hear. One thing that you feel. One thing that you see. And then it can be really pleasant to put our attention on our breathing, to notice how the hairs on our nose move as we breathe in, how our chest expands, and the feeling of the air in our throat and our lungs. And how the muscles expand and the solar plexus goes down. And some people feel as if the air actually goes down deeper into their body. Some people can even feel it going to their toes. And just putting our mind on the breathing, putting our attention on the breathing, is a great way to keep our attention on the body. Think of something that you do that you really enjoy doing. Imagine it. Perhaps hear what goes on when you're doing it. And feel that enjoyment in your body. Feel how it feels doing it in your body. And feel how your sense of the great mystery, your sense of identity, and your beliefs and values together empower, deepen, enrich the skills that you bring into the world. So now really just enjoying this sense of the great mystery, expressed through your sense of self, through your core beliefs and values, empowering your skills and strengths. How does this impact? How will this impact what you do in the world? How do you want it to impact? How do you want to take this out through what you do in the world? And as you do this, notice the impact it has in whichever environment or place you're doing this. Notice how the world responds, how the world is affected by this deep sense you have of connection to the great mystery expressed through your core identity and your beliefs and values, empowering your skills and what you do out into the world. Notice and enjoy and explore. And imagine how this can be for you in the future, how this might be for you, more fully self-expressed into the world. And when you're ready, stay deeply connected with yourself. Yet open your eyes and just become aware of the field, of the group. What I'd like to do is I'm going to have you share your experience in groups, but I want you to start with just a few minutes of sitting silently together so that you stay connected with this before you share. So I'll give you just 3 minutes per person to talk, to share. What was your experience of this meditation or of yourself? But first, I'll give you 2 minutes just to settle and just to be quiet with each other. So, so you're invited to a breakout room now. So just briefly, how was the meditation for you? How was it for you? Who would like to share? There's always a pause. Wendy, are you going to share? Did I see you?
No, I put my hand up to the nose.
Okay.
But
Yeah, don't
was
scratch your
laughing.
nose because I think you want to share.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it was amazing because the two amazing people I was with, they realized they live about 11 miles apart in the States. So that was a really fun connection. And so it was that's
how was
really
the meditation for you? How was that?
Yeah, it was empowering, Julian. You know, I'm getting stronger and stronger. And so for me, it was just lovely to be, I am, and be me. I'm a unique person, and it just reinforced that. So that's lovely because you know me, and I had these disempowering beliefs for many years. So I just feel stronger and stronger as I travel along the road.
I'm so beautiful, so beautiful to hear.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, you know how I feel. Many thanks.
Yeah, it's great. So wonderful. Who else? Well, how was the meditation for you? Anyone else want to share? You can also share if it didn't work for you. That's always. Oh, Gordon, go on.
I think Newell was indicating something.
Oh, was he?
Were you Newell? Sorry, I'll go out again.
Just unmute if you want to speak, Newell.
Yeah, I just say, Julian, it was hypnotic to me. I as you had to tell me, hey, you got to go join a room, Noel, because I was completely in deep inner space. I thought I had a good night's sleep, but I guess I could continue to get some more. So you really helped me get down into a different kind of center than I had been in. So appreciate that.
And it's always worth repeat. I'll just repeat. You go on in a moment, Newell. But just worth saying that there's actually research that says that even if you fall asleep, you're still hearing it. So actually, if that's what your body needed, I always trust that whatever happens during the meditation is what's meant to happen during the meditation. So
yeah, I guess the last thing I'd say is the working through the senses first. When you took us through the various forms of sensors and really like almost a countdown of 5, 4, less and less in the same ones. It was very hypnotic. That's the word I would use to describe how that affected me. So
I've just been writing about this, but I'm not very keen on the two words, hypnosis and trance, because actually these are naturally occurring states. If we go and lie in a field, on a nice warm summer's day and we see the clouds in the sky, we naturally go into those states. But because we live in these slightly boxy houses in a very intellectual, rational world, we almost don't notice our naturally occurring body-mind states. And so, for example, I think it's every hour and a half, and I can't remember which rhythm, there's a body rhythm that people just need to go and stare out of the window or go and make a cup of coffee or do some completely innocuous activity, because the brain can't and doesn't want to stay in its purely rational state all the time. So in a sense, what I want to evoke is naturally occurring body-mind states, which is really our birthright. And if we were living more fully in nature, that would happen much more naturally all the time. But because of our world, we call them altered states, but they're not, they're just naturally occurring. Anything else before I move into thinking about your gift to the world? Has anybody got anything else, a question to ask or anything to share before we move into that? Georgianne.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you and the group and the people I was with, because I came in such a late, I was such a crash state. I came in. As I speak, I feel that, but I don't feel it quite as, I don't feel it as crash now.
So where are you now? Tell us where you are now.
I'm more of a sort of 5-6 coach, but that is going from a real crash.
Yeah.
And really thinking I had nothing to offer the world. I had no, no skills, really just overwhelmed. What's he talking about? What can I offer, And then I was, beginning to laugh at myself. And anyway, I just wanted to thank you and the group I was with, I shared, and I guess I was just being human in a way.
Yeah.
And
it's really, there's something about, you've accessed something which is really helpful, which is that when we can have enough of a coach state to hold the difficulty, because, we all experience difficulty. And I don't want to create a world in which everybody's completely disconnected from any sense of difficulty or, difficult feelings. But it's about how we hold ourselves in that. And I find that the spiritual aspect really helpful for that. Sometimes, I just need to be held by life. So and I know you've been having health issues, so
exactly,
I'm sending you lots of love and support to you.
Thank you.
I love that statement from Kurt Vonnegut, which is, we're all here to help each other get through this.
Yes,
whatever this is.
Exactly. I love him.
Great. So I think that's something that's so Yeah, so important. We're all here to help each other get through this, whatever this is. And we used to live in, groups. When we came, everybody, all humans came out of Africa, and we came out of Africa in bands of about 50 or 100, between 100, something of that sort, and very, very intimately collected in community. And of course, there were some problems with that, because then this group of people said, those are the others, they're the dangerous ones. But all the same, focusing on the community aspect, with the start of agriculture, and particularly the Industrial Revolution, we've become more and more isolated, and then we've come into two-parent families where children were never meant to be brought up in a two-parent family. They're meant to be brought up in a village. We've created these isolated lives, whereas actually we're all here to help each other get through this, whatever this is. And so it's sort of leaning back into something that's more historical, leaning back into the importance of relationship, the importance of, it's so great that we're here online, but it's also really, really great in our face-to-face groups, our face-to-face communities. But the Generative Citizen Community is very much about saying, let me be with other people who think and, have a vision of the world that's similar to mine, a vision of myself as a person who's integrated in making a difference in the world, connecting with community. And it's actually so great looking at the number of different countries that are here. It's not, sometimes we have, people from a broader range of countries, but we've got America, we've got Sweden, we've got, I don't know where Sergei's from, but we've got Egbert in Germany, I think, and a couple of people in America. So it's really, really great. It's a way of connecting across the world. So what I want to do is, I'll say one more thing about that, which is that your sense of the great mystery and your sense of who you are and your life calling, what your life is about, your vision of who you're becoming in your life, your positive beliefs and values can hold you when you face difficulty. So there's two things that holds us when we face difficulty. One is how we hold ourselves, and the other is community. And both of those are super important. So we're going to do another meditation. And this time we're going to think about what it is that you give to the world. And I want to be a little bit, just be careful about that, because it could be something really small. Sometimes I've, had a mother on, on a Zoom, and they say, well, I'm not giving anything to the world. So yes, you are. You're bringing up your child. What could be more important than that? Paul is going to the loo. Yeah, good to know. I won't make any jokes about that. But thanks for sharing. So sometimes what we do to the world is being nice to the shopkeeper, or, they did some research. They did some silly research, which was the researchers in the days that there were telephone boxes, which I think there's nobody so young that they never saw a telephone box. The days that there were telephone boxes, and the researchers put a coin left a coin in the telephone box. And then when a person went into the telephone box, as they were coming out, the researcher or the researcher's aide would drop their papers on the ground. And then they sort of counted, because they did this many, many times, how many times the person coming out of the phone box would help the person pick the papers up that they dropped on the ground. And then they compared this with a telephone box, people coming out of a telephone box where there was no money in the machine. The people who came out of the telephone box where somebody had left the change so that the next person could make a call were much more likely to help people pick up, the papers that were dropped on the ground by the researcher. So our little acts of kindness, so if your gift to the world is that you do little acts of kindness, that actually is passed on to people. So I think, one of the things to think about is not to get too, I've got to do something big, I'm not doing more, but to say, what is it that I'm doing? What are the little things I do that make a difference? talk to the old lady on the street corner, or whatever it is. Use my skills in a way that is really useful, that helps people grow. What is it that you do that makes a little bit of a difference in the world? So that's where we're going to start with this this meditation. So we can go through, the initial steps more quickly. So just, make yourselves comfortable. You're probably already in a state of relaxation compared to where we're started. Just notice what you see, hear, and feel. Notice your body, notice yourself. And just be really just enjoy not having to do anything. I'm going to talk you through some things, but you don't have to do anything with it. You can listen. Your unconscious will listen. Images and thoughts will come as a result, but you don't actually have to do anything other than just notice how you naturally respond to what's going on. So it's like a chance to just chill and listen and feel and experience. So, yeah. So just again, just notice 4 things that you hear. Outside the house, inside the house, in your body, your internal dialogue, and something else. And 4 things that you feel, including a muscle and a place on your skin and a felt sense. And 4 things that you see, and if your eyes are closed, 2 of those could be optical, the darkness of your eyelids and color on your eyelids, and the other 2 would be in the mind's eye. And it doesn't really matter the numbers, it's just a little structure. If you don't have to get the numbers right, just paying attention to your senses with a little guidance. And 3 things that you hear. How is what you hear now different to what you heard before? And 3 things that you feel. And 3 things that you see. And 2 things that you hear. Two things that you feel. Two things that you see. One thing that you hear. one thing that you feel. One thing that you see. And just paying attention to the rhythm of your breathing. And think of something that you do for the world, whether it's little, medium size, or big, that makes a difference to the world, that helps the world. And see it, hear any sounds that are related to it, and feel how that feels, doing that for the world. It might be simply how you carry yourself in the world as an individual with integrity. Or it might be something you give more directly. And then become aware of the strengths or abilities, competencies, capabilities, whatever you want to call them, that you use, giving that to the world or being that in the world. And just appreciate those strengths or skills that you have. Value them. And what are the beliefs that you have about people or yourself or the world that really empower you using your skills in this way? Perhaps there are values that you have that empower you using your skills in this way. And what's the sense of who you really are, or your life calling, your sense of who you are that gives you these beliefs and values? Gives you these empowering beliefs and values. And really just value yourself being this person. Perhaps this sense of identity comes through hardship. Perhaps this sense of identity comes through enjoyable stuff. Perhaps it comes from a combination, sense of who you are that you express through these beliefs and values. It give you these beliefs and values. What is your connection to the great mystery, the awesomeness, the amazingness of life? To any moments of awakening or sense of oneness with the universe, or connection with higher power, or something non-verbal, some just sense of opening. That supports your sense of individual identity. And see that, hear that, feel that again, freshly. And then take this sense, which you probably experience in your body, of the great mystery of and notice how that deepens and enriches your sense of yourself. Self. And take this sense of the great mystery and this sense of and how it deepens and enhances this sense of self. And notice how both of these enrich, deepen, empower, enhance, support your core beliefs and values about people, the world, and yourself. What does this support and empower you to believe about people, the world, and yourself? What's possible in this world? And with this sense of the great mystery and your sense of your your unique sense of identity expressed through your beliefs and values. Supporting your skills, deepening your skills, helping you enrich your skills, competencies. Notice the possibility of your skills and competencies growing and developing, using them more fully, using them as a channel for expressing your sense of the great mystery and your calling in the world and your values and beliefs. And how all of this, your sense of the great mystery, your unique calling, your empowering beliefs, values, and your skills, cascade into the things that you do, can be expressed through what you do that makes a difference in the world, so that you can make your difference in the world even more fully, that empower, deepen, enrich, help you be braver about perhaps, or express more leadership through the way that you give your gifts, or this gift, to the world. Perhaps you can imagine the places in which you could express this gift more fully in the world. The places where you currently offer this gift. Expressing it more fully. And perhaps other places come to mind where you could express this gift more fully in the world. It's not really your light in the world, it's the light that comes through you, that you're the vehicle for, more fully out into the world. And when you're ready, staying deeply connected with yourself, come back to the room. And again, we're going to just spend a short amount of time. The first minute will just be in silence with each other in the groups of 3, and then 3 minutes per person to just share how that was for you, what you got from that, and what your gift is to the world. So just share that light that comes through you that isn't really personal to you. So rooms are open now. Great. So here we go. We've done a lot. And really what I want to do now in the next 15 minutes is really hear from you what it was that you got. It's not just what it was that you got, but what is it that you're doing? There's actually, maybe I'll find it actually. Well, I don't know if I'll find it right now, but you know that quotation from Marianne Williamson about you know, don't hide your light, shine your light in the world, because other people will look at your light and say, well, this person's shining their light in the world, maybe I can shine my light too. So I really want to sort of encourage you around that, which is that, you know, don't be small, be big. It's not your, you know, she says, you know, it's not your smallness that frightens you, it's your bigness. It's like, shine your light in the world and let other people say, wow, if he or she can do that, I can do that. So I'd love to hear what, you know, what you got from that. I'd love to hear about your empowerment. I'd love to hear about your gift to the world, or your insights that you got from the meditation. And I'd like to hear from quite a few people. So be brave and be the one who goes first.
Julian, it's just a question, actually.
Yeah.
When you mention empathy and compassion, what you know, what is the difference, really? I know there is a difference.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the difference. I mean, I think there is a technical difference. I think, oh, there we are. Alison, will you read that out for us, Alison?
Okay, so this is by Marianne Williamson in The Return to Love. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not lost in some, it's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Thank you so much. That's so brilliant. Yeah, just feel that for a second. Wendy, yeah, feel that. I'll give my answer and then I'll ask Judith to give her answer. But for me, compassion is a sort of sense of caring about everyone in the world, or caring about a person. But empathy is slightly different. Empathy is when I can feel into the person, get some sense in myself of what their experience must be like, and sort of create a connection, have a connection at a sort of neurological level, so that actually if you saw me with somebody and there was I was feeling empathy, you might see some similarity in our body movements and body posture because I was really feeling connected to them. Judith, what would you say?
Yeah, very similar. I would say, I think empathy is that kind of resonance. It's more like a sort of second position shift, as we would say in NLP. You know, you're kind of stepping into someone else's world. You've got a sense of how you feel like that too sometimes. So you're kind of feeling something with somebody. Whereas I think compassion, as Julian said, it's more or less about somebody. So you're just at that sort of slight remove, I think. It's not that you're not feeling something, but it's sort of for somebody or about something rather than with.
In Buddhism, they talk about compassion for all beings. So it's like, you know, because all beings suffer, you know, it's this sort of big, you know, this thing that every being in the world suffers. And there's having a sense of that, yeah.
And I like the thing where, I forget who says it now, where, you know, you're feeling terrible, like Georgianne was saying, and you just know that somewhere in the world there's another, you know, 100 million people feeling exactly the same. I find it a great consolation.
Did that answer your question, Wendy?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you both.
Okay. So you're sharing from the meditation. Who would like to share? Who's willing to be brave and share? Egbert and then Gordon. Or did I miss anybody else's hand? Yeah.
Well, the meditation was a big space, and it ended for me in one sentence, like a essence of the whole. It was like, what I am able to bring to the world, that is the win-win-win, is the biological. So it's the logical in this bios, in this life. It was really nice. This win-win-win is the biological.
The biological, yeah. How do you say that in German, Egbert? Do you say that in German?
Win-win-win ist das Biologische.
Beautiful. Gordon.
Thank you. So yeah, I found that second meditation really powerful. The first one, maybe it's part of the design, but I felt I focused on myself and what I was doing and making a reinforcement of what I was about and what I was going to do. With this second one, it came out about how I can use my strengths and skills and all that for others. So I found it really empowering. And 24 hours ago, I was in a bad way about a certain relationship and aspects, and frustrated about not getting things done. But now I'm really clear through that. Through that meditation, second meditation, I'm just really clear now where I'm going with this other thing, outside of me, and I just feel so good about that. So thank you.
Yeah, Gordon, that's really touching. It's so important. Sometimes I think to really have a vision of what it's like when we're giving our gift to the world well, so that one, it's more likely when we're going to lean into that state and into that flow, but also because when we're down in the ditch and we've fallen over, that we can remember the vision of it. So that's the person who's fallen in the gutter, but are they looking at the stars? So it's really helpful to have the vision of our gift and giving it to the world, because then sometimes we say, well, I'm feeling really down. I'll give myself some time to bring healing, love, compassion, empathy to myself. And then tomorrow I'll be out there giving my gift again, because then it acts as a sort of direction. It gives meaning in life. Viktor Frankl in concentration camp, one of the things he was doing with people, and when he was counseling people in concentration camp, was finding, well, what can you do for the community? Find something that's meaningful. However great your suffering is, if you find something meaningful, it will change the quality of your life. Thank you, Gordon. Who wants to share next? Great. Are you going to share about, Georgianne, about your experience of the meditation? Because that's what I'm wanting right now.
Yes, thank you. For me, everything really changed when you said that we were just a vehicle. And I mean, it completely, before that, it was just arguing with myself about ego and, okay, I can be playful, I'm good at making people laugh. And then, that's ego, that's just feeding my ego. And then, the moment you said that about being a vehicle, everything changed completely.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can be just a vehicle, and that's fantastic.
That's great. Thank you. That's really great. Yeah, I think it's so important, that there's some archetypal form, some universal form that wants to come through each of us, and it comes through in a very particular way, because it has to come through, your sense, your personal history. It has to come, it has to come through something that's vibrating with your personal history, your ancestral history, your life as you are right now, with your life calling and your strengths. And all of that means that when it comes into your body, it vibrates in a particular way that is just completely unique to you. But it's a universal form that's coming through you and out into the world. And all you have to do is to be the channel for it. It's not yours, it's life's. And I find that much, much easier. Then it's not about, am I going to do well? It's like, well, I'll do the best I can, but you up there, I'm doing it for you. I'm not doing it for me, So that's really, really helpful. Who else would like to share your experience? Jenny, that'd be really lovely.
Yeah, I think I started off the meditation thinking, I don't know what my gift is or what I've got to offer. And then I realized that that was not a true belief. And it's always about enabling others to grow and develop. I was in education most of my life. I've done a lot of coaching. Now doing less at the moment. And it was so good to get back to that, because it almost made me feel like I've recently, like feeling like I've lost part of my identity. And in that meditation, I felt I got an important part of my identity back. So thank you.
Wonderful. Have you retired from an education role or something like that?
Yeah. And that was a while ago. Then I've done other things, and I was sort of running the negative idea that I'm not doing what I was doing before, which isn't entirely true anyway. But I just feel empowered, thinking, yeah, this is what I do, and I'm going to go and do more of that, rather than, yeah. So I feel I've got a part of me back again.
Beautiful, Jenny. That's so beautiful. I think it's so important. There's always an opportunity to give our gift to the world. The question is, what's the next form? What's the next way? You can educate in so many different ways, Jenny. I always imagine, I'll be listening to the, I was talking to Judith about, my nightmare scenario is being in an old people's home with some poor refugee wiping my backside. But I can still say to the poor refugee, tell me about your life. I can listen. So there's always an opportunity if we keep building our keep managing our resourcefulness, and keep saying what next, rather than looking back. What I want to do, actually, because we're just getting towards the end, I just want to just share this. So I so strongly recommend that coming on Thursday, the 19th of October, because Connie Ray Andreas, there's always these big arguments about who were the founders of NLP. It's all sort of ego stuff, to be quite honest. But really, there was a whole group of people around at that time. And she and her husband, Steve Andreas, were one of the people who took what Grinder and Bandler were modeling and coded it into patterns that, have really developed the NLP field. And then out of that, she's been working with the spiritual for like 30 years. I can't remember what the last iteration of this was called, but she's now doing this thing with a practical way to move from separate self to being the whole. And she does it in a way that very, very gently evokes something from us that she says is in us already, that's already here, and that we're just unveiling something that's here. So really, she's one of the great masters. I really recommend that you come on the 19th of October. And then for people who've done level 1, we've got some level 2 sessions, because there are these 5 practices, coach state, or, you can call it flow state, having a high performance state, having a state of an integrated state. Secondly, self-development. Thirdly, empathy. Fourth, being able to communicate that out into the world. And fifth, just being aware of how the world is, and who has advantages and who has disadvantages, and how things work. And so Judith is going to run these 3 sessions on the practices. Do you want to say a sentence about it, Judith?
Yes, we'll be just kind of deepening these 3 practices, and hopefully also, deepening our connection to each other through being together, doing this work together. I mean, I think the other thing I would say is they're free.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a sort of sense of the community. And for those of you who don't know about the Generative Citizen Community, there's the level 1 training on the 5 practices. Then there's going to be more stuff about, how do we develop ourselves as generative citizens in this world? So there's all of that. Then there's really important to me is, how do we build a community of people who are wanting to be, generative citizens, great citizens, empowered, empathic people in the world, and how do we build a community of people who are doing that? And we've all got so many skills, so it's like, let's bring our skills together, let's support each other doing this. And it's in its infant stages, you know, we're just developing. We're a sociocracy, so we're a sort of flat structure. Different people are taking on different roles, but it's really, really beautiful. So really inviting you to, you know, to come to events and become involved with what we're doing. It's a sort of peer group thing. Judith and I launched it, but we're just want to be members of a peer group. So what I'd like to do, we're just over time. What I'd like to do very, very quickly is for each person to say a word about how they're feeling right now. And I'd like to start with Christy. Unmute. You have to unmute. Great. Everybody unmute themselves so we can do this reasonably quick.
I feel inspired.
Great.
And thank you so much.
Pass it to someone.
To Debbie.
那点名让别人去发言。
Debbie, how are you feeling right now?
Said peaceful.
Peaceful.
I
Pass
passed
it to
it
someone.
to Alex.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Debbie. Feeling yeah, let's go for grateful.
嗯，有人说的是
Yeah, 立慧.
Okay. I'm feeling sort of back in the flow. I'll pass it on to Daniel.
I felt empowered. I pass it on to Sasha.
I'm feeling thankful. So yeah, so my internet connection is bad. This is why my videos are out, just for explanation. But thankful is my feeling. And Wendy.
I feel at peace. And I pass it to Maggie.
I feel enlightened. And I pass it to Alison.
I'm feeling present. I'll pass to Gordon.
I feel a warm glow and pass to Zarko.
I feel shared. I pass to Rachel.
Oh, done mine already.
Pass it on, Rachel.
Okay, I'll pass it on to who hasn't done it?
Paul or Egbert. Yeah.
Egbert.
Well, I feel satisfied. And I pass to Liu Feng.
Li Wei, yeah.
You're muted.
有启发的
enlightened
色联，有启发的连接和力量。
connected and empowered.
感恩
Beautiful.
Appreciate it.
Pass it to Daniel.
I already said it. Again, empowered.
Great. And we've got Sergey, and we've got Georgianne, and we've got Paul and Aris. Aris, you go next.
I feel joyful. And
Great.
Next is Paul.
Refreshed and appreciative of the people, of friends in the breakout rooms, what we shared and listened, exchanged. Thank you.
Aris.
I feel energized and creative. Thank you very much. Grateful.
Georgianne.
I feel immensely grateful and connected.
Great. Who haven't we done yet? Judith. Oh, Jenny. Great. Jenny.
Hopeful.
Hopeful. Great. Judith.
Feel kind of I think warm-hearted, I would say.
Anyone? Is there anyone else that I've missed?
You.
Me. Okay. I'm not missing. Well, it's an existential question. I won't try and answer it today. But I feel warm-hearted and touched and connected, and just lovely to be with you all. I'm just really enjoying the feeling of the field. It's amazing, isn't it? We can come on these screens and feel this connection. It's a sort of a miraculous thing.
Lovely.
So, hope to see you all soon. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Lots of love.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Julian. Thanks, everyone. That was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.